We'll move on. Leo's rattling his papers. All the local people know Leo, and so Leo gets most mornings he has a coffee down in front of the bakery, and whoever comes along, he talks to them and he gets knowledge from them, and then he talks about knowledge, what's happened in this district over the years. So I'm going to get Leo to read out his little speech, and then we might just have a few questions for him, something he's missed or something that we might think we might want to know about the town. So welcome, Leo.
Well, back in 1943, in the hard times, we started school at Dulla. And there was Brenda and I and Patty and Desi. We went to school in the old sulky. We got to the creeks with Desi and I. We got the deep creeks because we used to put our head down under the showers and see if the creek. Desi and I loved going through the deep creeks because we put our heads under the old mare to see if the water was touching the belly. But anyway, as we went through the creek, we looked up on the sandy hills and there was two little girls waiting up there for us to come along. The two Kirkwood girls, Beverly and Judy. And when we come along, us poor kids who had no boots on, but anyway, they used to hang on the side of the sulky and get a free ride to the school. But anyway, we got down to the school, the Gumerton kids were there already, and this teacher we had was Lance Charlton, a pretty stern fella. He had a motorbike with a sidecar on it, and I think I was the only one that never got a ride in the sidecar. But anyway, as it went along, we goes into school, and I think I got to know the reason why he didn't give me a ride, because I probably pulled Bev Kirkwood's hair in the school or something like that anyway. And then we used to have these picnics out at Methil West and what was the other, Methil West and no, it wasn't Ashridge, it was Carlisle Park and then Tara. Toohill, right. Anyway, Max Hubbard won all the races this day, and Judy Kirkwood, she was a good rider, good runner. She won a lot. But little skinny Desi Corbett, it was turned for him to run. So the gun went off, and I think Desi tore off, and he was well in front, and we said, come on Desi, and he got to the line and he pulled up. He never went through the line. But we never got our shield that day. That was our trouble. But anyway, that were the times at the Dulla school. And then the mum and dad battled on the old farm. We were surrounded by all these other farmers. We more or less had to ask them, can we go through their farms and shut the gates so the rams won't get out. All these things. And mum and dad done it tough because as we went along, Mum had turkeys and she used to milk probably 10 cows and take the milk and eggs, the cream and the eggs over to the Doraine siding over there on the Madongar Main Road. Anyway.
Keep going,
All right. Anyway.
Sit up straight and hold. Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, she battled on for ages and as they went on, Mum sort of money got tight and it got down to the stage where the grocery people, like the store owners and all that, they were couldn't give credit to the farmers much. So Mum they sort of closed up on our family a little bit. But Mum had this, I'm starting to tear up a bit. Mum had this black coat. He was tough as nails. And she used to drive into Wagga to get the groceries. And I think she took 4 turkeys over with her to sell at Lawrence's. They were over there where Knight's Meats are now. And got the groceries, come back home with this colt. On 98 miles she went. She come back home and I remember Desi and I, we were about 4 or 5. And we said, can you bring us an ice cream home from Ganmain? Anyway, she got home with these 2 ice creams and they were melted. And we thought when Mum was coming along the road that she had a different horse because it was white with foam, this colt. And when he got back, his 2 ears were still pricked, and he used to put his big black eyes up at the sky with his legs out. And Desi and I walked around the back of the sock and we started crying because Mum still had these 2 ice creams, in her hand. So that was a part of it.
So Leo, that's a terrific story. So after so when you're still at Doa, but when did you transcend into, when did you come into school in Ganmain in the finish before you finished? Did you come into the Catholic school?
Yes, guy, we're coming on Hanby's bus. He come from the range with Mr. Hanby, and we'd go out the Devlin Road, he'd pick up Monica and Eileen Carroll and the Galtons, and went out to Dulles and back into George Cameron. Did you go on the bus, George? No. No, George was out there, and George had a pretty hard time too, because I think George was with the Palmettas. George was, and George was a battler. George may tell you that himself, but he had like us, he had a hard time, George. Anyway, yeah, we come to town on Hanby's bus in there, Desi and I, and Doug Steele was driving the bus, and we had, Desi and I learnt the violin. And Doug got us to play this Danny Boy coming in on the Tulla Road. And we got to live those little things, you know, happen like that. And get in, the nuns were great. And we got in there and Monsignor Clark got Desi, that's a bit later on in life, he got us to put a fence up along the old school of the convent, and we used to kick in, Barbie Quinn and all of us and help, and you know, everyone kicked in together, and I think Kevin called it, when they cemented the school with the, everyone kicked in and cemented the cement on the old school, and, but I'd like to tell you this story, but
Keep it up close.
yeah.
Don't get personal.
No, God, no. Anyway, Bonnie Gumbel and I and Desi, we had these 3 wild horses. And Desi's little horse, we called it Trixie. Its mother died when it was a foal, and we read it on the milk, on the bottle that used to come inside, and Mum was making the jam on the table one day, and she was putting the clips on the preservative jars. She saw the sheet under the jam move a little bit. Anyway, this little foal was chewing the sheet and holding his head up, and a couple of bottles fell off the head of the table, and it was the little foal that was chewing the sheet. But when that foal grew up, it was a tricky little thing. I had a colt and Bobby had this little Ripples. Anyway, when the holiday time came, Gordon Bride and Keith Bride was stacking hay. It was holiday time, and it must have been a Saturday. We rode to town like Clint Eastwood. We thought we were him, and on the horses. And Keith Bride, like I said, they were stacking on the road, and their trucks were on the road. And Bobby and Desi and I thought we'd start them up and have a little bit of fun. Anyway, we didn't do any damage, so we rode into town. This was Saturday. On the Sunday, we rode out to Area Park and back. And on the Monday morning, we were riding out of town, and I stood up on my stirrups, and I was looking down the road, and I seen all these men down the other end of the road. And I said to Bobby, I said, we'll click the horses up a little bit closer. We went a bit closer, and they were holding arms across the road. Anyway, we cantered the horses and then made them gallop. And I said to Bobby, hook into them, Bobby, with the spurs. And we went straight through them. Well, then Gordon Bryant went over one side and the others. And we never stopped them until we got out to the Devlin Road. They went straight through Red Bank Creek, and just another bit of fun, guy.
So what about when you got a bit older? Now people love to hear about the picture theatres. You know, the young people can't imagine that you'd have picture theatres in Ganmain. So you would have enjoyed the picture theatre?
We did. It was, what is it, 2 on it? Yeah, we've seen a great lot of pictures in here. They were great. I think, you know, Clark Gable and the other ones we watched. Is that what you mean, Guy? And
Yeah, well, did you? So,
Did you end up courting Janice to go to the pictures? Is that what happened?
I don't know, I met Janice out at Mangain, actually. She was at the Dillon, Therese Dillon's kitchen tea. And I had a bit of trouble to try to get Janice to come home, but my sister was with me, thank goodness. Yeah, that started off that way, but anyway, I lived with Janice for a while, yeah, later on down the track, we got married. Yeah, that was that, 3 kids, and
Well, I'm sure you're very proud of your 3 children, Leo. You've got Andrew and Kath and Mark. And Kath went away for a while with her teaching, and she's come back and settled in Gamoon. So you're very fortunate. You've got family close to you, haven't you? But you'd be very proud of them and what they've chosen. And you and Mark are very busy around the town and get a lot of stories there in front of the bakery. That's why I encourage people to. I saw you yesterday. You had some contractors bailed up, and you found out what they were doing, and then you were able to give them some information. But so what about early days? You know, so you went from what motorised transport, you know, carting the wheat in bulk was, or were you still in the bag day back in the day?
just missed the bag days, I think. You know what I did? Kevin was a man that loved the wheat. We had a 1947 Bedford truck, but they had a bin on the back, and I drove that. I got a restricted licence when I was 16. They give the kids a restricted licence, the farm kids, to drive the trucks. So I drove that for a long time, and there was the bin. Desi went on the header, and I drove the wheat. Kevin drove the headers.
Right. So, and what about early? What was your first motor car? Did you have a Ute or something?
Yeah, no, I had a Holden Ute, but Kevin started off with a 1937 Dodge car, and he used to drive all his mates around in that. But my dad got that. He bought that off Jack Dunn, one of the agents here in Glenmain. But my Ute was a Holden Ute. Yeah, I got the idea. I put this big name, Leo Corbett, on the door, and I thought I was great. But anyway, that all happened. I went to the Coconut Grove in Wagga one night, and that's a dance hall, and I was coming over and I smashed it up between Coolman and Wagga. Teddy Logan sold it to me when he had the G and the Holden.
So that might have been back in the day before there was drink driving laws, was it, Leo, or was it just an accident?
No, a bit of beer involved. I went out with Terry Delaney. He was a rugby player in Wagga, and then a few blokes over there. And actually, when I went shooting in Queensland, was a bloke. He was up there, Barry O'Hagan. He was a good bike rider. He was one of our mates and all that, you know.
And what about now? I'm sure we need to encourage Leo to be writing more, and so he can document and get some stories in the Guardian, because we haven't got enough time this afternoon to cover all these stories. But what about football, Leo? Do you have a go at the football like everybody else did?
Love to, Guy, but there was only one schoolboy side in Gamoon them days, and when Desi and I was out of Dulla, we used to drive the old Chestnut Mare Road to where Dennis Brill lives now, on that lane, Red Rocks Lane, to get on the bus to go out to Area Park to try and get a game of football. And Scotty McPherson and Frank Morrill was training the kids, and we waited there for a while, and the bus drove straight past us. And anyway, one day I think they pulled up and picked us up. I went out there, I gave me a bit of a game, and I was on the ground with a bloke named young Billy Preston. And we had a bit of a blue on the ground, and Jimmy Dunn and them blokes were playing, and come back home and we could never get a game. Don't know why, we were just different. Anyway, I did get a game in Cooler. This is kids. Is that all right, guys? Anyway, me and Harvey Gillard was up there playing, and the little umpire was Billy Dice. He was only a little short bloke. And Bluey Patterson was down in the goals, and me and Harvey Gillard, we were in the back, in the forward line or something. And he knocked Harvey over, and he picked me up and threw me straight through the goal posts. They had to stop the game because his father walked in. Bluey used to go right off. Everyone should know Bluey Patterson, because I know I can't forget him, but everyone else should remember him.
I think it's fair to say, Leo, you've had a colourful upbringing, and as a young fellow, quite colourful, and I think you're continuing that way. So, what about further? Like you've seen some, you've seen so many changes. You and Desi and Kevin and Janice, so many changes around the town, and been through hard times, and we're sort of coming back into our own now. It's popular for, even since the pandemic, all the house prices nearly doubled, so a bit of a bright future there, I think.
Yeah, there is, Guy. Yeah, and after all the young blokes, they've got different times what we had anyway, but can I just... I met Laurie Kelly in Gawain one morning. It was a drought on. And he said, Leo, do you want to cut a bit of hay for me out of Currawarna? There was 140 acres out there, but no, Maury Salmons owned it. So I said, oh yeah, but I went with him, come back next morning. I told Janice, I said, well, Janice, Laurie offered me a job at cut this hay, but I haven't got a tractor driver. And she said, oh yeah. I said, I know a little girl up in Coolabah's a very good tractor driver and that. She said, no you won't. And I said, she said, I'll do it. So we go out there and cut the hay, and then from then on Laurie told me to go up to Tom Patterson's. I cut 650 tonne up there for Tom Patterson, and then we went out to Frank Langtry's and cut another 300, and I cut 1,400 tonne that year with me binder.
That's a magnificent effort, and of course you would have taught Janice how to grease the binder, because that'd be very important for a tractor driver to know how to grease the binder.
No, she never touched the grease gun, but what it was when we got out there, I was going to say Maury Salmons met us at the gate with this big humorous smile, and he said, so I said to Janice, you've got to drive straight in, Janice, and Janice said, anyway, whatever happened, I took these little tin of clods out with me to educate Janice. They were small, but they were hard. I used to pop one on top of her head every now and again when she went off the line.
I have heard that story before, and I'm pretty sure I've heard Janice confirm that Janice wouldn't be the only tractor driver on the hay cutting that copped a clod in the back of the head. So, anyway, how are we going with your time? Are you enjoying Leo's little talk, or do you want to? We better start to wind it up, Leo. It's getting pretty hot. And so, what else can you talk about? Even I can remember. So, Les Jones in the garage there. You could come down after school and have a look at a brand new hole where the men's shed is in the showroom young people wouldn't believe that, would they?
They would not. We lived next door to Palmettos out there, and they had the marina stuff. And Desi and I and Bobby Gotham used to go around and pick all the dead wool up. Anyway, we collected, we got 2 or 3 bales. It might have been 1953 wool was £1 a pound. Well, we saved enough wool. I bought a new Zephyr off Mel Morley for £1,200, and Desi bought a Simca off Bert Brill for the same amount of money. And we got it all out of fox skins and dead wool and rabbits skins.
Pretty hard. That's the way to make it. Always a way to make a dollar in the hard times. So I think we should thank Leo very much. The Corbett family of they're all the siblings are still alive. So Kevin had his 90 last year, didn't he, Leo? 90 last year?
He did so. He's over there near the wall. Oh, yeah. He's not propped up, but he's healthy enough to sit up pretty good.
And of course, Brenda and Paddy live in Wagga, and we quite often run into Paddy, and she doesn't look any different, hadn't looked any different for the last 40 years, and you'll all agree with that, I'm sure. So thanks very much. Thank you very much, Leo, for your a few little stories there of your upbringing and tough going out at duller. That wasn't uncommon. Most people had it fairly tough. Not enough acres, tractors weren't big enough, and but you made do and you battled through and survived and brought up a family. So that's very important. So you'd like to wind up now, Leo?
Well, thanks very much, Guy. Yeah, no, that's about it. But we'll just keep going like our main goes too. But just live our lives out.
Can you get a name out of it for me?
We've got a wallet here, a wallet. If Zane, can you see if there's a card in it with a name on it? Well, it's yours.
I left it down there in the wagon, Guy.
Well, there you go.
Making me notes, mate.
We're surrounded here today by honest people. So thank you very much for your attention for this little part of the day. The boys might get some more bag sewing going back down there, and Rex Brill did some beautiful skewering of bags. So if you want to see that, and after we've had a little bit of a drink, we might attempt to bale another bale of wool and finish it off properly this time. So thank you very much for your attention.